okay, McLaren, we understand. We get it. You guys are going to be the Constructors champion in 2025, just like you were in 2024. We know that a McLaren driver is going to be the world champion in 2025. However, I think one thing we can all agree as McLaren fans, as much as the backlash they've had since the Italian Grand Prix, which I think a lot of it has been over criticized, over stipulated, a bit too much going on here. And this is not a video to criticize McLaren whatsoever. Let's have it right. This is me trying to give some advice to the Papaya team. And it's simply this: the strategists need to take lead for the rest of the season. They need to call the shots on what happens in the 2025 season, not the drivers. Not the drivers. Enough is enough where we're hearing, what does Oscar think? What does Lando think? How about what do you guys think, strategists? Okay, the people that are that plan, that the race director, whoever it is that plans a race weekend and plans all these scenarios and has a look at what is actually going on. We know in Formula One, things change all the time. What you plan A, plan B, plan C, you end up going to plan X because of how many things change, because of the way scenarios are changing in Formula One. We get all of that. We do get all of that, absolutely. But here's the thing. Here's what I will say. It's now time to leave the drivers alone. Leave them alone in the sense of stop asking them. Because McLaren, we've got good form of this. We've got good form for this, where my nightmare, my trauma goes back to Sochi 2021. Lando Norris is leading the race in the wet. And he's being asked, what should we do? Should we change these tires? Should we jump on slicks? Should we stay on the wets? Lando has no idea what to decide. He's not used to this territory. He's not used to being on the front of the grid. And McLaren, by the way, it's gone through some hard times. And there's a lot to praise McLaren for, because of the way they have gone from that 2021-22 McLaren to now 2024-25. Night and day, black and white, completely different teams altogether. So where McLaren have done so well, when you think about the pit crew, when you think about your Andrea Stellas, your Zach Browns, the people that they've recruited in, the people they've brought in, your Rob Marshalls, your Pete Prodromus, right? Randy Singh. There's a lot of people in there that we have got to give praise to. Stallard as well, Will Jones. These people are tremendous. They're brilliant at their job, all of them, to a T, all the men and women. But now we have to get the heat and the spotlight off the drivers, off the race engineers, in the sense of let you guys take lead. I want to be, if I'm going to critique McLaren, I want to be critiquing the fact that we went for a strategy, it didn't work. We didn't pull it off. Far too many times, we are discussing about how we're hearing team radio messaging going back and forth between engineer and driver. And it's like, not that nobody has a clue what they're doing, but we're going about certain things the wrong way, in my opinion. I think we need to change and move to the place where a race strategist's job is to strategize the race and leave it there. The fiasco that took place in Monza, where you have Will Jones, I can't remember the name, LWJ, we know him as Will, right? Will asks Lando, should we pit you or Oscar first? I think was more the conversation. And Lando was a bit like, oh yeah, you sure you don't want to pit Oscar? Now, that's the first mistake you would argue that Lando made, right? Was even given the idea that, what about Oscar? And then their sort of, the response to Lando is sort of like, oh yeah, sure, yeah, okay, cool, yeah, we'll deal with Oscar. Then Lando's like, oh, hang on, as long as I don't get, undercut. And it's then become a case of, no, you won't get undercut. Don't worry, we've got this covered. Because what we can now truly say is that all along, McLaren were not going to allow an undercut to take place. That's one thing we know. It's McLaren's way, and I have no issue with that whatsoever. I have no problem with the papaya rules. I have no problem with the fairness. I have no problem with any. In fact, I commend it, a lot of it. I commend the fact that the drivers and the team are all on the same page. And yes, there might be two number one drivers. Guess what? The car's sensational, the drivers are sensational. Here we are. Okay? This is where we are right now. And that's not something to critique McLaren for. Oh, you're trying to be too clever. You're trying to be too fair. Forget all that. McLaren shouldn't even listen to that noise. And some of you McLaren fans as well, my goodness, on Twitter, you guys are going mental on X. You lot need to calm down, okay? I know there's a lot of fandom for the Norris fans, there's a lot of fandom for the Piastri fans. But here's the thing. If you're McLaren, you shouldn't give a damn who's winning the title. That's my stance. I support the team that wears the shield, not the driver themselves. When Lewis came and went, I still stuck with McLaren. When Hakkinen came and went, McLaren. Coulthard was my favorite driver as a young kid. When he went, I was still McLaren. I didn't go to Red Bull when he went there. And we've had so many drivers ever since. Your Jensen Buttons of this world. Now we've got Norris. We've had Fernando Alonso, for goodness sake, right? Some great top quality drivers. But anyway, we shouldn't be caring about which driver and this, that. We should be caring about the fact that the team gets this job done. But I will say this. It doesn't absolve them of any criticism. I will say this. Get the drivers away from leading and taking the lead on strategy. That should be the race engineer's job. That should be the team strategist's job. Whoever it is that makes up the race weekend. Because you know what? Something else you have to remember? McLaren, let's not ignore the fact, because by the way, all of this noise about the team orders and all that nonsense, what it has taken our eyes off, Max Verstappen finished nearly 20 seconds ahead of Norris in Monza. Sorry, that's not, we have to pay attention to that. Under no circumstances is the 2025 Red Bull, this year's Red Bull, finishing 20 seconds ahead of anybody. Never mind a McLaren. If you said to me, Max Verstappen won a race and led it by 20 seconds, you know what I would have thought happened? There was a DNF for a McLaren driver and another McLaren driver had a stinker, they're in P9. So therefore, Max is either 20 seconds ahead of a Mercedes, he's 20 seconds ahead of a Ferrari, or even in the bizarre circumstance, let's just say ahead of a Williams. Because Formula One is like that, right? No. McLaren finished 2 and 3 in Monza. Now, Monza's not their strongest circuit. Sure, 20 seconds? We can't ignore that. We can't ignore that. So therefore, we have to actually have this is another reason why the team strategy needs to take lead. Because how now do you combat a 20-second leading Red Bull in Max Verstappen? It might have been a one-off, okay? It might be a one-off in Monza, fine. But we still have races that McLaren are not necessarily best suited to, i.e. Vegas. Who knows what Baku will throw at them? And Singapore is a bit sketchy. So what if Red Bull have done something? What if they've got an upgrade and they've actually gone and done something? Lauren Meckies and the gang have actually gone and done something with this car, okay? And Max Verstappen is now in a Red Bull. He's like, oh, hang on a minute. If it ain't this year, fine. But next year, watch out, because this car is ready to go again. We need to take stock now, McLaren fans. You know, we need to actually embrace the moment of dominance that we're having right now, because it's not going to last long if Red Bull's upgrade have got into gear. Because Max was way too cool on the weekend. Fastest lap ever in qualifying. And then we had the shortest race covered in Formula One history. Was it an hour and 13 minutes? My goodness. So, strategists, please take lead from now on. Dominate these races. Let's have our constructors title wrapped up quick. And and whoever wins the drivers championship, I couldn't care less. Oscar, Orlando, couldn't care less, as long as it's McLaren, right? And I'm sure that's what the team think as well. They're caring about McLaren first. So let's wrap this up. And let's not have any more shenanigans. But I think I love the fairness. Keep the fairness. Keep the whatever discussions that were made before, because your drivers are on the same page as well. So that's good. But strategists, it's now time to take lead. Otherwise, you could cost yourself in the long run. And the last thing I want to see is anybody else other than Papaya and Black winning Constructors and Drivers Championship. Let me know your thoughts in the comment section down below. Do you think it's the strategists that are probably the main issue here, that need to actually take a grip of something just to absolve some of this heat that McLaren seem to always entertain week in, week out? We can never have a normal race weekend, can we, with McLaren? It never seems to be that way. YouTube thinks you will like this video over here, so make sure you go ahead and click that. It might be about more McLaren's talk, because there's been a lot to talk about with McLaren this season. But you know what? Let me know in the comment section down below. Smash a like on the video if you like Formula One content like this, and subscribe to the channel for more videos on Formula One. Until next time, lights out.